Welcome back, MG fam, to the Master Series here on NBA 2K11. And yes, this is the episode that we find out if we're going to make the playoffs this year. But before we get into that, we're going to take a look at what's been going on around the D-League. So first up, we got the Eastern Conference standings. The Energy had the best record in the Eastern Conference last year, and they made it to the championship game, but slid all the way down to the 4th place spot after going 24-26. This year, you have the Bayhawks at the top after improving their record from last year by 12 wins. Also, our affiliate team, the Maine Red Claws, finished the season below 500 again, but increased their wins by 4. And in the D-League Western Conference, the Flash finishing in first place with a 32-18 record, which is way better than their 4th place finish last season. And finishing 4th this season in the West is the Austin Toros, who are the defending D-League champs. They didn't have much success during the regular season as they did the season before, where they sported the best record in the whole league, but maybe their experience can help them in the playoffs. So now on to the leading scorers in the D-League. So you have the shooting guard Carl Fuller from the Jam leading everyone after averaging 23.4 points per game. And in second place, you got the shooting guard Chris Jennings of the Skyforce, who was a top 5 scorer last season. And in third place, you got the small forward Brad Mason from the Armor Squad, who was the defending scoring champion from last year. So now we're going to slide over to the D-League playoffs. And one thing I noticed is that in the D-League, conference rankings don't matter, because either way, the best 8 teams will make the playoffs. This year, we have 5 teams from the West and only 3 teams from the East compared to last year where we seen 4 from each conference. And in the first round, you got the Bayhawks matching up against the Vipers. The Bayhawks were eliminated in the first round last year, and the Vipers missed the postseason altogether. And you also have the Armor versus the Legends, which is similar to the Bayhawks versus Vipers because last year the Legends lost in the first round and the Armor didn't make the postseason at all. And then we have the Jam versus the Toros, where the Jam didn't make the playoffs at all last season and the Toros are your defending champs. And then the Flash versus Skyforce. Both teams made it to the conference finals last season, and this looks like the best matchup in round 1. So as we advance to round 2, you can see that the Bayhawks advance and will face the Legends in the conference finals. And on the other side, you can see that the Toros have a chance to repeat as they advance to the conference finals and will face the Skyforce, which is a conference finals rematch from last year. And after simulating the conference finals, you can see the Bayhawks ended up getting swept by the Legends and will face the Skyforce in the finals, who got payback against the Toros. And after we simmed all of those games, the Skyforce ended up winning the D-League championship, and Chris Jennings is your D-League finals MVP. He had a remarkable season and led his team, who had one of the lowest seeds in the playoffs, to a title. His phone could be ringing soon from one of the big league squads. So after concluding the D-League playoffs, we're going to slide over to the NBA awards. So we simmed the rest of the season, the last few games that the teams had to play, and you guys can see that Kevin Durant won his first MVP after averaging a double-double and helping his team secure the 2nd best record in the West. And Rookie of the Year goes to our guy Julian Hines, who becomes the 2nd player to win this award in Masters franchise history. And the 6th Man of the Year award goes to Johnny Flynn after posting crazy numbers off the bench in his first season out there in Utah. And the Defensive Player of the Year goes to no one other than Dwight Howard, who won this award 3 years in a row. And the MIP award goes to Lou Williams after doubling his scoring average in his first year out there in Orlando. And the Coach of the Year award goes to Doug Collins, who led the Warriors to the best record in the league. Alright, so now on to the All-NBA first team. You can see they got D-Wade, Steph Curry, KD, LeBron, and Andrew Bynum. And the second team, you got D-Rose, Kyrie Irving, Josh Smith, Chris Bosh, and Dwight Howard. And for the third team, you got Chris Paul, the young man Damon Childress, Amari Stoudemire, Kawhi Leonard, and Brook Lopez. And now we're going to slide on to the all-defensive squad. The first team defensive squad has D-Wade, Evan Turner, Kevin Durant, Josh Smith, and Dwight Howard. The second team features our guy, Julian Hines, the rookie, baby. And he's joined by Tariq Evans, Anthony Randolph, LeBron James, and Andrew Bynum. And on the all-rookie first team, got our guy Julian Hines once again, Glenn Miles, Lucas Hoffman, Karan Nicholas, and Calbert Mercer. And the second team features Alfonso Owen, Mr. Lukowski, that's what I'm gonna call him, I think that's correct, and Grant Vilma, Gus Harrington, and our guy Pop from the Bulls. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that name again. Alright, so after wrapping up the awards, you guys can see that we did not make the playoffs. Once again, man, we came very close. We finished with a 40-42 record, so we're on the break of making the playoffs, but I guess we're one season out. So that means we're gonna have to make a few more adjustments in this off season so that we can make that push and secure our first ever playoff berth. But even though we didn't make the playoffs, there's still some great matchups right in front of you guys. So you got the Warriors facing the number 8 seed Lakers in the West. Then you got the Spurs taking on the Trailblazers, and you got the Clippers facing the Jazz, and there goes the Thunder. They're gonna have to take on the Sacramento Kings. And on the east side, you got the Knicks, the top seed in the East, baby, facing the LeBron-less Miami Heat, but they still have Chris Bosh and D Wade. And you have the Pacers facing the LeBron-led New Jersey Nets. That's going to be a pretty nice matchup. And the Magic will face the Hawks, who was a 2 seed last year, but this year they're 6. And speaking of 2 seeds in the East, you got the Hornets facing the Bulls. A lot of great matchups there, so we're going to simulate the first round, and you can see that the defending champs Golden State advance, and they will face the Spurs, who won Game 7 versus the Blazers. They went to the ropes with those guys. And then you have the Thunder advancing after handling the Kings, and they will face the Jazz, who upset the Clippers. And then on the East, you had the Knicks going 7 games against D Wade, and them they barely won that one, but they will advance. And the Pacers took care of LeBron and the Nets. And the Bull and the Hawks, they're facing off in the second round for the second year in a row, and both teams are low seeds. So we're going to simulate the second round this time, and you can see the Warriors made it to another conference finals with ease, and the Jazz are still on a run. They upset the OKC Thunder in a 7-game series, and the Pacers made it to the conference finals after beating the top seeded Knicks in 7 games, and the Bulls surprised everyone, man, advanced to the conference finals once again after sweeping the Hawks for the 2nd season in a row. Alright, so now we're going to sim to the finals, and can you believe it? You have the Jazz facing the Bulls, a 6 versus 7 seed. So in the previous round, the Jazz handled the defending champs in the Western Conference Finals with ease, and the Bulls went 7 games against the Pacers. And these two guys will face off in the finals. And in Game 1, the Jazz took that one. In Game 2, the Jazz took that one as well. And Game 3, the Bulls handled those guys. And then Game 4 goes back to the Jazz. And Game 5 was won by the Jazz as well. And they are your current NBA champion. And the finals MVP goes to Deron Williams. Hey, he deserved it. You know, he's a dog out there. He balled out of control, you can tell. So now we're going to slide on to the offseason. And the retiring players this year are AI. He's out of here. And Kevin Garnett retires as a Masher, but everybody going to remember him for those Boston and Timberwolves days. And Chauncey Billups got out of there as a Knick, and Luke Ridnow finishes as a Laker, and Sean Marion got out of there and he finishes as a Nugget. And now on to the retiring coaches. We see Byron Scott hanging it up after a pretty decent season with the Heat, where they almost won a playoff series against a top-seeded Knicks squad. And then you had Greg Popovich retiring after taking the Sacramento Kings to the playoffs. And Flip Saunders wraps it up out there in Minnesota, and he went out with the worst season out of all 3 of those guys. And now on to the Hall of Fame inductees. You got AI and KG making it to the Hall of Fame. We know that was a given for sure. Those 2 guys deserved it. But between those 2, there's only one championship. All right, so we had a few team options on the table where we seen our guy Elmo Newman went up for a 2-year team deal. And Thaddeus Young had a team deal as well. But Mike Miller was the only player option, and he accepted it, and he is going to get paid 6 M's. Somebody else can have him because that's too much for the OG. All right, so now we're going to move on to the draft lottery. And you can see that we're predicted to have a top 10 pick. Hopefully we can hold on to that one. And that pick came from the 76ers when they swapped Danny Green in a second round from last year. So we won that trade. And after simming the lottery, the biggest surprise was the Wizards getting the top pick after only having a 4% chance. And the Suns get another top 5 pick for the second year in a row. Let's see what they do with that. And you already know we ended up with a top 10 pick like we projected. And we're going to try to add some depth to our squad. So we have 2 picks again this year and a second round. So we got some room to play. If we have to trade something away for a pick next year, that's cool. If not, we're going to select our guys. So now we're going to jump right into the NBA draft. And first on the board, you have the Wizards selecting Craig McKnight, the shooting guard for Illinois. And then you have Dustin Richmond going to the Celtics with the second pick. And then you had the Raptors trying to trade us Kemba Walker in their first rounder for Elmo Newman and Julian Hines. No, we know you guys see the value in those guys, but we're not falling for it. And with that pick, the Raptors selected Alex Floyd, the shooting guard from Connecticut. And then you have the Pistons trying to offer us something as well. No sir, but they will select the point guard from Croatia, Mirko Raja. And then the Suns selected Bobby Albert, the power forward from Texas Southern. Go check him out in the Texas Southern series. He was a beast now. And there goes the Mavericks on the clock. They selected a center, Brett Rowe, who was the first center to come off the board. And Andre Hill goes to the Rocket, the Fresno State shooting guard. And then you have the Thunder offering us something for Hasheem Thabeet. And our first round pick? No sir, that's not going to work. But before we jumped on the board, the Cavaliers selected Andrew Willis, the point guard out of Syracuse. And we slid on through and selected our guy, which was Dante Bassi from Oklahoma. And with the 10th pick, you got the Nuggets selecting the power forward, Stephon Love from BYU. And the Bucks select Dean Clark, the point guard from Duke. And then you got Lewis Butler from North Carolina State going to Memphis. And Carl Randall, the small forward, goes to the Pacers. Terrence Romero, the point guard for Tennessee, goes to Minnesota. And then Dante Roy, the small forward from Miami, goes to the Miami Heat, leaving the Hurricanes and going to the Heat, buddy. And we're on the clock once again. And we're going to select our guy, Mike Soto from Texas Southern. He was a center. Check him out as well because he was more like a Dennis Rodman type player for us. And you can see here the Cavaliers are looking to trade their 17th and 19th pick. This team had 3 picks in the first round and they want Lewis Butler. So they're going to trade for him, and the Grizzlies accepted it, and they picked up Mack, the point guard from Tulsa. And you can see Mitchell, the power forward from Louisiana Tech, going to the Bulls. And then Tim Carlson, his teammate, going to Memphis, the point guard. Memphis selected 2 point guards with those 2 picks. Crazy stuff, man. And then you also had Hudson going to the Kings, and the Nets picked up Wood, the power forward. And you got the Magic trying to offer us something for Dante Bassi and JJ Redick. No sir. So they're going to select Wayne Strong, the shooting guard. And then Elliott, the small forward, goes to the Pacers. And you got Joe Murray, the second center, coming off the board late in the first round from Purdue, going to the Hornets. And then DJ Jordan, the small forward from Oklahoma, going to the Blazers. And Tugay Osat, the shooting guard from Turkey, goes to the Clippers. And Hodges, the power forward from Villanova, goes to the Knicks. And Overton, the power forward from Texas Tech, goes to the Thunder. And Lynn Bryant, the shooting guard from Colorado State, goes to the Warriors. And Irvin Clayton, the small forward from Florida, goes to the defending champs, the Utah Jazz. And in the second round, you had the Cavaliers picking up a point guard with their top pick in the second. And the shooting guard Hamilton goes to the Suns. And Sloan, another center, goes off the board. He heads to Dallas. And the Rockets select the shooting guard Neely. And Mills, the power forward, goes to the Cavaliers. And we're on the clock once again with our second round pick. And we're going to trade that one away along with Mike Miller, who we don't want to pay $6 million this year, for Luke Richard Mbah-a-Moute, who is currently a Celtic. And they want to give him up to us, man. This is an upgrade for our squad because I don't believe there's a player left in this draft that could give us immediate production like this guy can. And with that pick, you got the Celtics selecting Herman Washburn, the small forward from Maryland. And then we're going to sim the rest of this draft. And you can see the top player in this year's draft was Craig McKnight. He's an 81 overall. Dustin Richmond, 78. Floyd, 78. Mirko, 75, pretty good. Then Bobby Albert, the power forward, is a 67. And Brett Rowe, the center, is a 70. Andre Hill, the shooting guard, 67. Willis, 66. Bassey, our guys, a 66. And Love was a 65. Clark ended up being a 65. Butler, a 64. And Randall, a 67. And Romero, a 63. So we ended up signing both of our picks, Soto and Bassey. They will come along. And now we're going to move on to the free agency period. So you guys can see this year's free agency is loaded with John Wall, Klay Thompson, Derek Favors, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and DeMarcus Cousins. And you can see a few of these guys are restricted free agents, which means their current team already has an offer on the table. But if another team outbids them, they will sign with that squad. But if their team has the highest bid, they will remain with their current squads. And after simulating the free agency period, you guys can see the 76ers ended up signing the OG Paul Pierce to a 1-year deal. So let's see what they're trying to do. And we ended up adding some defense to our squad. We picked up Trevor Ariza on a pretty nice deal. And we also re-signed our guy Rashard Lewis. I love what he did for us last season. And the Cavaliers signed Brandon Wright, a nice young power forward. And they also signed Avery Bradley, a nice young point guard. So the Cavs are going young, it looks like. And the Hornets ended up signing Kenneth Godfrey to a 3-year deal. He actually made the playoffs before the Masters. So Kenneth Godfrey going over there to play with CP3, another great point guard. I am interested in seeing how his career unfolds from here. And then the Celtics ended up picking up Craig Brackens on a 4-year deal. And the Mavericks signed Reggie Williams to a 3-year deal. And Gordon Hayward goes to San Antonio on a 4-year deal. And the Bucks ended up winning the services of DeMarcus Cousins. So Carmelo Anthony, you got a big man that really can do something. A great young big man at that. And the Hornets ended up signing Daniel Orton to a 5-year deal. And the Lakers signed Derek Favors to a 5-year deal. So I wonder what they're going to do with Powell. And the Magic ended up making one of the biggest splashes of the offseason by signing Paul George to a 5-year deal. Dwight Howard, Paul George, Lou Williams, that squad is loaded. And then the Spurs ended up adding another great young player in Giannis Arebko to a 4-year deal. And the Nets replaced Derek Favors with Ed Davis. Okay, so that's a pretty good replacement. Bron got another big power forward out there that can hold it down for him. And the Rockets ended up re-signing Kyle Lowry. And the Bulls signed Kawhi Leonard, Kawhi D. Rose. Oh my goodness, all those players on the same squad, they're trying to make a finals push. And the Knicks signed Cole Aldridge, pretty good young big man. And the Warriors signed Luke Babbitt. Okay, I can see some shooters being added. But they lost Klay Thompson to the 76ers. My goodness. So I see why the Luke Babbitt signing happened, because they weren't confident that Klay was returning. And then the Bucks signed Andres Beatrice, another big man. Crazy. I don't understand. And the Pistons won the services of John Wall, bro. John Wall, the Pistons outbid everyone for John Wall, bro. It's a 1-year deal worth $5.76 million. So I guess the Wizards didn't have enough money to sign this dude, and they allow him to go to the Pistons. Nobody wanted John Wall. They basically couldn't afford him for a multi-year deal. And the same happened with Larry Sanders. So now we're going to move on to training camp. And we're going to help improve our guy Thaddeus Young big man defense. So we sent him to the camp and he came out good. On the other side, man, you can see the increases and the improvements right there. And we also did the same for Hassan Whiteside. We need him to be more of a force on the defensive end. And you can see his improvement was wonderful as well. So you guys can take a look at our roster, man. We're stacking up pretty decent, a very solid deep squad. So you can see Thaddeus Young comes in as an 83 overall. You got Newman, 81, Hines, 81, Trevor Ariza, 78, and Hassan Whiteside, 77, Rashard Lewis, 69, and Bahamute, 69, JJ Redick, 66, David is a 66, Bassey is a 65, Chapman is currently a 64, Soto, 61, Buckley and McPherson, 61 and 60. And this squad right here, you guys can already tell, is a defensive squad. So we pride ourselves on defense. We want to be one of the best defensive teams, and we're going to try to make a run with this squad, because offensively our team isn't gonna be the highest scoring squad, but we're gonna try our best to stop other teams from scoring. So it doesn't matter how many points can you score, it's about how many points you can limit your opponent. So that's the angle we're taking this year. But it's your boy McGruff, and I appreciate you guys for watching this video, man. Don't forget to hit that like button, that notification bell, and subscribe to the channel. And we're ready to get this season started. Let's go.